Hearing that Charlie asked about Juxuanweisan, Liang Wei immediately became excited and blurted out, "Master, Juxuanweisan has now occupied the entire Japanese, Korean and Southeast Asian markets. After we have incorporated Kobayashi Pharmaceutical, Kobayashi's original many production lines are now fully operational and are fully producing Juxuanweisan. Except for Asia, we are now hoarding goods and are preparing to enter the European and American markets next month." Charlie nodded in satisfaction, and asked with a smile, "The European and American markets should have been resistant to Oriental herbal medicine? Are you confident?" "Yes," Liang Wei said without hesitation. "Although Europe and the United States are the birthplaces of Western medicine, Europe and the United States are also the main forces in alcohol consumption. The top 20 countries in per capita alcohol consumption are all European countries. And in several countries in Australia and South America, the annual per capita alcohol consumption is more than 10 liters. This is the first echelon with the highest per capita alcohol consumption. Then the second echelon represented by the United States, Canada, Japan, and South Korea. The annual per capita alcohol consumption is about 7 or 8 liters. Because of the high alcohol consumption in these countries, the proportion of stomach and liver diseases is also very large. Juxuanweisan has no toxic side effects, is extremely convenient to take, and has a quick effect. It has a very good protective and repair effect on the stomach. Once the drug is on the market, the first wave of users will be those who drink alcohol. Once we gain a reputation among these user groups, we will soon sweep across Europe and America." Charlie smiled slightly and said, "In this case, we can start with restaurants, bars, and hotels, and then send a local push team to do free trials at the entrances of bars and restaurants in major European and American cities. Be less controllable and make sure that they can feel the effect, but the effect cannot be maintained for a long time. In this way, after several rounds of promotion, we can immediately absorb these long-term drinkers and they can become our diehard users." When Liang heard this, he hurriedly said, "Master, your method is really good. Start with the group that needs Juxuanweisan most. It hits their pain points and makes them inseparable from Juxuanweisan, and even Juxuanweisan is regarded as a magical medicine. In that case, our reputation will immediately rise." Having said that, Liang quickly said, "I will call a meeting of management staff tomorrow to quickly decide on a detailed plan for ground-level promotion in the European and American markets." Charlie nodded with satisfaction and smiled. European and American economies are relatively developed. The price of Juxuanweisan must keep up. In my opinion, it's priced at 800 per box. This method is used by shark pharmaceutical companies. The sky-high prices of medicines are used to make more dents in our money. Those special medicines cost tens of thousands a month when they come to this country. In the future, we need to reverse this trend." Liang smiled and said, "Master, I think it's okay to set a higher price, but the key is that we have to find a way to prevent them from buying at the Huasha market, and then go to the European and American markets to sell. In this case, the major portion of the money will be collected by the dealers." Charlie smiled slightly and said, "This is simple. In any country, the Juxuanweisan in the future must be purchased in limited quantities. One person with a valid certificate 1 month at most 1 box can be purchased. The source of goods must be strictly controlled. That means to prevent the collocation of goods is to learn from the tobacco industry. All medicines must have a corresponding regional code when they leave the factory. At the same time, they must be checked regularly to ensure that there will be no collocation of goods between regions or between countries. The condition of the items must not compromise." Liang hurriedly said, "Okay, Master Wade, I have written it all down." Charlie added, "In addition, we must strictly supervise dealers and sign clear contracts. Anyone who dares to stock up the items and sells them at super high prices will immediately see a cancellation of his dealer certificate and let him pay a large amount of damage money. If he pays, he will go bankrupt in a lawsuit. In short, there must be no such thing as a price-raising situation like Motai Med. The official retail price of a bottle of Motai is $14.99, but ordinary people have no chance to buy it at this price, and when the dealer sells out, it costs at least $2,000. On July 8, it's even higher during the New Year and holidays. Isn't this just showing that consumers are pitted?" Liang immediately stated, Master Wade, don't worry, I will strictly prevent similar things from happening to Zhu Xuanwei. If any dealer dares to stock up and raise the price, I will immediately disqualify him and pursue legal action responsibly. We will never tolerate. Charlie nodded with satisfaction, and said, after the Zhu Xuanwei dispersion is fully deployed in the European and American markets, the alcohol industry in Europe and the United States will surely usher in rapid development. Liang agreed and said, yes. Many drinkers in Europe and the United States are highly dependent on alcohol. If Zhu Xuanwei goes on the market, it is equivalent to reducing the damage caused by alcohol to their bodies. Drinking too much alcohol, especially the stomach, is the least of the effects. Comfortable, Zhu Xuanwei just solved their problem easily. Having said that, Liang couldn't help sighing. Master Wade, it would be better if we could launch a liver-protecting product along the way. Nourishing the stomach and protecting the liver, this is simply an essential medicine for European and American drinkers. Charlie smiled and said, you will first push Zhu Xuanwei to the European and American markets. After a while, I will come out with a prescription for liver protection tablets. Then we will focus on nourishing the stomach and protecting the liver. Isaac smiled and said, Master, if you sell the pill you refined, the market will be even bigger. You don't need a rejuvenating pill, as long as the blood-saving pill before. If you dilute the effect of the medicine to 10%, it is estimated that it will be sold out like hotcakes. Charlie nodded slightly and said, if this medicine is really sold, the sales volume will certainly be good, but this medicine cannot be mass-produced through normal pharmaceutical equipment, so the production capacity cannot be increased, and there are no mass sales production conditions, so. Isaac said with some regret, nowadays, many drugs on the market have a little effect on prolonging life, but they have been fired to a very high price by those rich people. The Angong Niahuang pill produced in the decade has now been fired to more than 100,000 pills, but in fact, this medicine only cures heat and detoxification, high fever convulsions, and stroke coma. It doesn't possibly prolong life, but everyone thinks this thing is something amazing, so the price is very high. Charlie nodded and laughed. The medicine is mainly in small quantities. In addition, some of the raw materials are coming from the protected wild animals and are no longer allowed to be used. So it seems to be a rare commodity, but in terms of effect, there is nothing left. Not allowed. As he was talking, the Chin family ran over quickly and said, Master, Mr. Song family, and Miss Warnya are here. Chin Gang hurriedly stood up and said to Charlie, Master, President Isaac, Orville, please be seated, I will go out to meet Mr. Song and Miss Song.